So, if you've got forklifts at your company, there's one really important question you need a solid answer for. How long do you actually have to keep your employee training records? It sounds simple, right? But the answer, well, it has some huge implications for your business. And today, we're going to break it all down. Let's just start with the bottom line, because the stakes here are incredibly high. And look, this isn't just about some annoying paperwork or administrative headaches. We're talking about serious financial risk. If you can't produce the right documents when an inspector shows up, what kind of trouble are you really in? Yeah, that's the number we're talking about. For serious violations related to training and documentation, OSHA can hit you with fines of up to $200,000. All of a sudden, that filing cabinet in the corner office seems a whole lot more important, doesn't it? Okay, so here's our game plan for today. First, we're going to cover why these records matter so much to OSHA in the first place. Then we'll dig into the official by-the-book requirements. After that, we'll nail down that all-important retention timeline, talk about some smart record-keeping practices, cover what to do when things go wrong, and finally, wrap up with how this all comes together to protect your business. So first things first, why is this such a big deal? Well, because when an OSHA inspector walks through your door, these files are basically your first line of defense. This isn't just about paperwork, it's about proof. It's your proof that you're doing things the right way. Picture this, an OSHA inspector is on site. One of the very first things they're going to ask for is proof of operator training. If you have no records, or if what you have is incomplete, that is an immediate, massive red flag. It kind of suggests that maybe training isn't a top priority, and that is a rabbit hole you do not want to go down. All right, so let's get down to brass tacks and look at what the law actually says. OSHA isn't playing games here. The requirements are spelled out very, very clearly. Now, what's really important to see here is just how specific this is. This isn't a suggestion, it's a direct order. OSHA says you shall certify, and that certification has to have 4 key things: the operator's name, the date they were trained, the date they were evaluated, and who did the training. If your certificate is missing even one of those, guess what? It's not compliant. Simple as that. Okay, so this brings us to the big one, the question that everybody asks. Exactly how long do you need to hang on to these records to stay in the clear? This is where a lot of the confusion really starts. And here's the tricky part, the thing that trips so many people up. The law itself doesn't give you a magic number, like keep them for 7 years. It actually leaves a bit of a gray area. And what that means is we can't just rely on the bare minimum. We have to look at industry best practices to really protect the business. And this just lays out the difference perfectly. So at a bare minimum, you need to have records that line up with that 3-year refresher training cycle. But the smart move, the best practice, is to keep an operator's complete training file for their entire time with your company, plus at least 5 years after they leave. Why? Because this protects you from any future claims. And believe me, it's invaluable if that employee ever comes back to work for you. Okay, so we know the timeline, but what does a really solid, a defensible record actually look like? And how do you manage it without it becoming a huge headache? You have to stop thinking of it as a single certificate. It's not just one piece of paper, it's a whole file, a complete portfolio that proves, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that your operator is competent. It should tell the full story of their training journey with you. So what goes in that file? Well, beyond the 4 things OSHA demands, a truly airtight record goes deeper. We're talking about the specifics of the training topics covered, the trainer's own qualifications, the actual test scores or evaluation checklists, and copies of any cards you issued. This is the kind of detail that makes your documentation bulletproof. And look, how you manage these files is half the battle. You absolutely should be digitizing them. Think about it. Instant access, easy backups. You should be doing your own internal audits to catch any gaps. Why wait for an inspector to find a problem you could have fixed months ago? And you need a formal written retention policy so everyone is on the same page. This takes record keeping from a chore to a proactive, protective system. But okay, let's get real for a second. In a perfect world, nothing ever gets lost, but we don't live in a perfect world. So what happens when a record just vanishes? How do you handle that without putting the company on the line? And this right here is when it gets really serious. After an accident, investigators swarm your training files. That is stop number 1. And if the record for the operator involved is gone or it's incomplete, oh man, that's like pouring gasoline on a fire. It basically screams negligence. Okay, so if you realize a record is missing, first thing, don't panic. There's a playbook for this. Acknowledge it's gone and really search for it. Did you use a third-party trainer? Call them immediately. They might have a copy. If it's really truly gone for good, the safest bet is to retrain and reevaluate that operator right away. Get a fresh, new, current record on file. And then, and this is key, you have to figure out how it got lost and plug that hole in your system for good. All right, let's bring it all home. Let's focus on the bigger picture here. How all of this isn't just about avoiding fines, it's about actively protecting your entire operation. I mean, just look at the payoff. It's huge. Good records do so much more than just keep OSHA happy. They make sure your operators know what they're doing. They help you track who's due for a refresher. They dramatically slash your liability if something bad happens. And, maybe the most important thing, they create a workplace where everybody feels safer. And that really is the bottom line. You have to start thinking of your record-keeping system not as a cost center, but as a form of insurance. It is a tangible, vital business asset that proves you are doing the right thing to protect your people and your company. So this is the question I want you to walk away with. Take it back to your team. Take a hard, honest look at your files and your process. Is your current system an asset that protects you? Or is it a liability just waiting to cause a problem? Because in the world of workplace safety, having the right answer doesn't just keep you compliant, it protects everything you've worked so hard to build.